Hey, I'm Mike from BlindsOnline.com, and I'd like to show you how to install your brand new Economy Sunscreen roller shade. So after you've unpacked the shade from the box, it should look a little something like this, and along with the shade, you should have received your mounting hardware. Your mounting hardware is going to look like this right here, and these are universal brackets. Universal in many ways, meaning they can be used for either the left side bracket or right side bracket, so there's no left or right. They can also be used for an inside mount, outside mount, or ceiling mount. So there really is only one type of brackets that this shade installs with. So if they look like this, at least you know you have the right brackets. So once you have your brackets in hand, just put the shade down for a moment. And this particular shade that we're going to be mounting today is in the color charcoal, which is basically a black, with a 5% openness factor. 5% is the tightness of the weave, so we can still see through this a little bit, but yet it will block out a considerable amount of the sunlight. Alright, now once we have the brackets set aside, we'd like to mount these brackets. Now before I actually mount them, I want to show you the different applications that these brackets can be used in. First one being outside mount. If you choose to mount your shades on the outside of the window frame, simply place the brackets as you see them right here. Pre-drill your holes if you're mounting right onto the molding so you don't split and crack your molding, and then put 2 screws into the bracket, one here and one here, and that'll be it. And then I will show you how the shade gets placed into the brackets once we actually install it. Now if you prefer to mount up above the molding, you can do that as well. Just be sure to order the optional spacer block on our website. That would get placed behind the bracket so that it would push the bracket far enough away from the wall so the shade does not interfere with your window molding. And lastly, there's the ceiling mount. You can actually use these brackets to mount directly up into your ceiling or up into the tops of your window frame. Okay, what we're going to actually do today is I'm going to show you how to install the shade as an inside mount. Inside mount meaning inside the window frame. Alright, so once you have your bracket in hand, just grab a screw gun if you have one. It'll make things a little easier. If not, you can always put the screws in by hand. And take your bracket and face it so that the foot of it, the angled portion, is facing toward the window, okay? Just the way I have it right here. Now I've pushed the bracket as far up as it'll go. In some instances you might have to bring it down a little bit depending upon how long your shade is. The longer the shade, the more fabric is going to be on the roll, and there is a possibility that that roll might hit the top of the frame. Alright, in this case it should be okay because the window isn't all that long. So we're going to put our first screw right into the top hole. Second screw is going to go right into the bottom hole, just like that. Your bracket is now installed. I'd like you to do the exact same thing for the second bracket on the opposite side. Okay, we're placing it all the way up. We're going to put our top screw in first, and then we're going to place the bottom screw in. Alright? Now it's important that these brackets are mounted level. Okay? If they're not level, your shade is not going to go up straight. So it's very important with a roller shade that the top of this shade or the roller be level. Even if the window is at a square, this must be level at all times in order for the shade to roll up evenly onto the roller. Okay, so now that you have your brackets in place, what I'm going to ask you to do is to place the clutch side or the chain side into the bracket first. And we're going to place these 2 little pieces that stick out of the clutch into the vertical slots of the bracket. That's what I'm going to do first. I'm actually going to put them right into the vertical slots just like that. I'm going to pull down just a little bit so that they seat themselves. Now that side is installed. The opposite side has a pin on it, which is on a spring mechanism, and we're going to just push that in a little bit, just enough so that we can seat it into the center hole of the opposite bracket, just like that. And guess what? Once you've done that, you've completed the installation of your shade. Once the shade is installed, to operate the shade, simply pull on one side of the chain at a time. In this case, we're pulling on the back side to bring it down, and the front side of the chain will lift it up. Alright, now as far as installing the shade goes, we will place the shade into the brackets the exact same way, whether it's inside mounted, outside mounted, or ceiling mounted. The final installation is exactly the same. And as for an operation goes, the clutch shade is always the nicest way to go in my opinion. because it'll stop whenever you stop pulling the chain, the shade will stop at any given point. Now, if you do have any additional questions on how to mount your roller shade, please feel free to call me. I'm Mike from BlindsOnline.com, and thanks for watching.